today. This is not a musician. Yeah, it's not a topical famous person of the Ozarks today. Well, it's sort of looks like somebody's grandma, doesn't it? Yeah. No, it's not Rose O'Neal. No, it's not Rose O'Neal, the Cupid doll inventor. Very different, sort of. What sense do you get looking at this woman? What do you think she would do or be about? Look kind of matronly.
Yeah, wasn't a Hollywood star, I don't think.
Looks kind of like a teacher. Okay, nobody, I thought maybe somebody would know this one. Not a teacher. Grandmama? Let's try Maul Barker. Has anybody ever heard of Maul Barker?
Yes.
Yeah. Remind me, Jeff, to stay away from your grandma. Yeah, and your mother.
Wow.
Yeah, if she's anything like Maul Barker, that's, yeah. You've heard of Maul Barker, probably the Barker Gang, or sometimes called the Karpus Barker Gang. Maul Barker was notorious back in the 30s when she met her demise. She was actually born Arizona Clark in Ash Grove, which is not too far west of Springfield, and grew up in this area. And eventually the Barker family moved to Oklahoma and spent many years in Oklahoma. And her sons got involved in crime. And one of them, while he was in the Kansas State Penitentiary, made friends with a guy by the name of Karpus. And when they got out, they formed a gang. And the Barker Gang was one of the most notorious criminal gangs of the 1930s, the early part of the 1930s. They were bank robbers, they were kidnappers, they murdered people, all kinds of crimes. And in those days, Maul Barker was lumped in with them, and the popular image of Maul Barker was that she was this woman gangster who basically ran the gang. But we know now that that was a misrepresentation of Maul Barker. She was an accomplice in that she sort of aided and abetted by taking care of the gang members, her sons, and trying to keep them out of trouble. But there's no evidence that she ever planned any of the heists or kidnappings. And more than likely, she was just sort of along for the ride. As they moved across the country and evaded law enforcement, and she was just kind of there being motherly in some ways. It just so happens that her kids were ruthless gangsters. And she ends up, along with one of her sons, getting gunned down in a house in Florida by the FBI. And there's even been speculation that J. Edgar Hoover had the FBI, the director of the FBI, had the FBI kind of doctor the paperwork to suggest that she was more important to the gang's activity than she actually was. It wouldn't be a great public relations thing to be gunning down a grandmother in a house somewhere. So you could see maybe they might have tried to make it look like she was more integral to the gang's activities than she was. But that's the famous Maul Barker.
Was she her mother? Was she a grandmother?
I don't know. I don't know that any of her kids had children or not. They were all, a couple of them died young, but she had several kids. I don't know.
Where in Florida was she?
I don't remember the name of the town. Yeah. But they had, the Barker gang was considered to have been involved in a murder in Pocahontas, Arkansas, in West Plains. The sheriff of West Plains was gunned down, and it was suspected that one of the Barker gang did that. and then they eventually left, went to Minnesota, and sort of traveled around the country. Didn't spend a lot of time in the Ozarks when they were the actual Barker gang.